midst. Rak,
Rak.
only. Shalom,
Shalom.
peace or health.
Shalom.
Sham
Sham.
means there.
Don't confuse with
Tamid,
Tamid.
continually or regularly. And that's it. So the following
Nice.
homework is for you. Exercise 11,
Everyone just,
verses 1 through 6. Sentences 1 through 6.
11, 1 through 6. Say that in Hebrew.
Ahad Asad. Ahad Shesh. One through six, that's it. And the next slide will actually explain to you what I'm expecting on the midterm.
Yes.
Vocabulary portion will include up to 25 words from last 4 lessons, including 11, 10, 9, and 8.
11, 10, 9,
So 8, 9, 10, and 8.
8.
Which doesn't mean that you're at 8, 9, 10, and 11.
That's more like.
Prepositions. There might be some inseparable prepositions, just like you saw in today's quiz. You will be asked to translate the word and identify pronominal suffix. Which would be attached to the preposition. I might ask you, I'm not sure yet, I might ask you about 3 uses of Hebrew adjectives, like attributive, substantive, and well, what was
Taking a
the
language
second
makes
one?
you learn your own.
Attributive,
Those are the two that I think attributive and substantive.
substantive,
Oh, the P, right?
predicative.
Predicative.
I might ask you about them by giving you a few phrases, asking for you to translate these phrases with the knowledge of the attributive, predicative, or substantive use in mind. I might not.
Oh, good.
We'll see if it's too much for you by the end of this week. Come on.
That's it.
Oh, wow, not yet. I have
Hold on.
3 slides on that.
It's it. It's it.
Lord knows,
Bag it.
I would like for you to memorize the paradigm for of pronominal suffixes on page 83. Only left column, type 1. And this will be useful for you when we come to verbs, because this is going to haunt you and hunt you down. You'll be committing linguistic suicide if you don't know the pronominal suffixes. Numbers 1 through 10, I don't know if I'll give you that. It's a little bit too much to say. Again, if there are volunteers,
And that would be the card
That could be
numbers.
extra credit.
Extra credit would be good.
yeah, I might give you numbers for extra credit.
And that's cardinal. Or
cardinal or bishops
Or
musketeer
rooks or
numbers,
knights or
whichever
queens
numbers
or
come
pawns
on.
or
Could be the pawn
or
itself.
popes.
Okay, let's see. Come on. And I will give you translation of short passages from various lessons. These will be probably last 3 lessons. The ones that you did, nothing new, the ones that you did, and we'll go over them in class before the test. We'll actually may even write them on the board You won't know which one of those sentences will be on the quiz, but we'll write them on board
From which lessons you said?
from the last 3 lessons.
Last 3 lessons.
And you may consult your lexicons. Again, this will be, translation will be at home exercise, but in the class we'll go through them, so you won't have any excuses on how you couldn't figure out how to translate that sentence. Okay?
And the midterm is going to be done after lecture?
Yes, we're going to review homework, then we're going to do 2 hours of lecture, and then you will take a vocabulary portion and leave with the second part of the midterm, depending on what time you end the quiz test.
So we get to stress about the midterm for the entire.
Yes, you get
So no
stressed.
one's going to be paying attention to your lecture, they'll be kind of reading, right?
No, I don't.
The vocabulary is when we're actually in class.
On the other hand, we can do it the way Chris suggests. We can do a homework review, then take a short break, have a vocabulary test, then do 2 hours of lecture, and then take a rest
I
of
like
the
that.
test with us.
That might be better.
I
Take a look, it'd be easier to concentrate on lecture.
It will be
Take
a
home.
take home.
Take home.
Most of it will be
No,
take home.
let's start from the beginning of class, the exam, and vocab and stuff while we're fresh.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll do the review of the homework first.
No, not even that.
Yeah, because the vocab's in there and
It helps you?
it does help me, yeah.
Actually, kind of the numbers.
And he'll
We
be
can probably turn off the camera now.
Okay.
Since we're not.
Into the what?
Okay, so welcome to chapter 12 of Hebrew grammar. And welcome to Hebrew verbs.
Yay!
I feel the excitement rolling through the classroom, and
No,
everybody is
that's-
excited.
no, that's
We're
cool.
getting to a point of learning Hebrew verbs. Yeah, exactly. From monkey
We're
fight.
trying to
to-
do so well with the class, whether it's moving right on.
Introduction, sorry, too fast. Verbs, for those of you who don't remember English grammar, are those words used to describe an action. For example, in he studied, that's an example of action, or state of being, she is wise. See, he might be studying, but she is the one that without a study can get an answer right. Because she is wise. Okay. So, did that refresh your memory as far as what verbs are in English? Well, in Hebrew Bible, there are just over 23,000 verses. Let's see how many verbs are in Hebrew Bible. About 72,000. So, if you count the ratio of verbs per verses, there will be approximately 3 verbs in each verse. That's why verbs are a very important part of Hebrew grammar. We can't skip it. You're about to discover that many of the verbs, or nouns you can memorize rather, as a vocabulary, have verbal counterparts. And that would make your life so much easier because you won't have to memorize a different word. You just have to memorize different spelling of it.
Oh.
Well, and it's not that far apart, so let's look at some examples. For example, you already know word melech, right? Which means king. While the verb deriving from that noun is malach, to reign. And it's the same trilateral root, just different vowel points. And this is the kal stem vowel point system. How is it different from any other? Well, you see a sequence of comets patha, and that's very usual sequence for vowel pattern in kal type of the verb. We will see some other verb types today. We'll learn about some other root stems, and we'll see how they're different from this vowel pattern. Basically, every verb type, kal, nifal, pl, pual, hofal, hifpalel, and so on and so forth, they are basically following the same vocalization as the name of the verb. If it's pual, that means it would be kibbutz patha. Well, we'll see it in about a few minutes. The word davar, which means word, thing, or matter, is also creating a verb, diber, which is what kind of verb? You don't know it yet, but it's PL type of verb. And you see PL and hire, tsere is also sequenced here. So you will know by looking at the verb what kind of or what type of the verb it is, but by just looking at the vowel pattern underneath it. It's going to click in as soon as we go into other forms. Kal form is most frequently used in the Bible, so we'll spend about 3/4 of the time learning kal forms, about 1/4 of the time learning 6 other forms that are less frequent. Mishpat is another word that we've learned, which means judgment. Shafat is the kal verb, again, to judge. So that should be
Used,
Judge.
judge.
Instead of judgment.
well,
Cause isn't shofet?
shofet is a judge, but mishpat is the noun that they selected for this particular example. So
I see.
Right, the
I
office.
see.
we can write a notation to the author of the book and say, get with it. Root and stem. It would be important for us to learn the roots of the verbs because sometimes the root might change due to certain things added to it or subtracted from it. That's why it's important to know the root of the verb because that's the only way you'll be able to identify it in the sentence. Hebrew roots are typically composed of 3 consonants, therefore they're called triconsonantal, or less frequently by 2 consonants, which makes them biconsonantal. Okay, that's a term that we'll be using in the future. What is a root? A root represents basically the origin or the simplest form from which any number of Hebrew verbs derives from. Not only verbs, we have nouns, verbs, participles, infinitive absolutes, infinitive constructs, everything is derived from the root. So it's basic, most simple form. A stem. What is a stem? It's the most basic form of any word derived from a root. So let's say milk, for example. What would be the stem of this word?
Milk.
Milk.
Well, if we will change, let's say, just hypothetically, we'll change something and use it in another way or form. Usually we'll look at these 3 letters, because if I'll write MLK,
Milk.
most likely you will say, oh, it's milk. Just kind of making the parallel to Hebrew.
Right.
You will most likely, well,
Let's
maybe,
not go
but,
there.
but not with all capitals. They're just all small letters. Okay, so same way in Hebrew, you have main consonants, and they're pretty constant all the way throughout, unless with some verbs, first one drops out, like first noon verbs. But don't get confused with it yet, we haven't gotten it. Person, gender, and number. While English verbs do not necessarily have person, gender, or number, and you won't be able to define it without the presence of a context or text itself, in Hebrew grammar, most of the verbs have attributed to them person, gender, and number.